Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, and I'm joined by my podcast partner, Tom Laidlaw, the former NHL defenseman for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings, and also a man who embraced the true grit lifestyle, which means that yesterday, while we were all enjoying chicken wings and craziness and 300 calorie items, Tom Laidlaw was having tequila salad, turkey meatballs, dips that contained mostly yogurt, and fresh vegetables.
Yes.
No chicken wings.
No, we baked some chicken wings just so we could have them, but they were not fried; they were baked.
Oh, okay.
And we also made a chickpea pasta. So chickpeas very healthy for you, low fat, a lot of fiber and like that. Like cucumbers,
potatoes. You're disguising what that is. The chickpeas. Tell them that's hummus. For all the uninitiated.
Hummus is chickpeas, but okay. We do not like to use the word hummus, although I have broken down. I have a big tub of hummus that I bought at Costco, so I dip my carrots and my cucumbers in there.
Well, Tom, there's a great commercial on where the guy talks about how he learned his daughter got him on hummus. Well, I'm that guy too. I love hummus too, but the guy in the commercial says, you know what it's really good on is meat. Hummus is really good on meat, and it is like a hummus and chicken. A little shawarma.
Yeah,
it's terrific.
No, it is good. It is amazing though, because you're right. I'm the old farm boy who, when it was Super Bowl or whatever, any day it was chips and dips and chocolate chip cookies and all that kinds of stuff. And now I've gone to the healthy route. But you can really actually make it pretty tasty too. It's not just all like I used to have the impression like my mother would make yams or sweet potatoes. And she would cook, and it was like, oh my God, it was awful. So I swore I'd never eat sweet potatoes again. Now I bake up my own sweet potatoes and all that. So,
sweet potatoes are excellent.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Well, funny. I just went and saw the comedian Louis Black, and I know a lot of our viewers know who he is. But he's a New Yorker, and his whole shtick is he raised. But his parents, his father recently died. He was 101 or 102, and his mother's still 101. Right. And here's the thing: you know what they ate in their entire life?
What?
Everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He said, they never ever watched their diet. He said, we had so many things with preservatives.
We lost our boy Kevin there. We'll get him back. He's a handsome dude though. Look at him. Just that picture right there. Maybe we should just have like a half-hour show of him just
Yeah, I just faded out there for a minute. I'm not sure.
I was just discussing with our listeners there that they had just ended up being a beautiful picture. You still picture, so maybe we should just have like a 30-minute show, and I'll just sit there and discuss your face there.
Yeah, I would not enjoy that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into some hockey. Well, first of all, let me just ask you about the Super Bowl. I thought that was one of the most enjoyable Super Bowls. It held my interest the entire game, and in the very end, I thought it was as simple as the Chiefs quarterback Mahomes was better than the 49ers quarterback Garoppolo. Look, I don't want to diminish the work of the Chiefs defense or even the 49ers defense, but when the defenses were good, Mahomes figured out a way to get it done, and Garoppolo just simply wasn't able to do that. And in the end, that's why they were able to come back.
Yeah. Well, you know what I like too is given especially Holmes being such a young guy, I don't think he had his best game, but he found a way to win. He and his team found a way to win, right? I think he early in the game, I thought he threw a couple of balls away there. I actually thought the score I predicted was going to be like a 42-28 game for Kansas City. I thought it'd be a lot more points. But again, you're right; those great defenses. And again, remember, Mahomes is still what's the second year in the league, so
I know
a big pressure game. And what I liked is that, I think the world of him, and he didn't play bad yesterday. It's just that he's so good. I thought he could have played better, but still found a way to win. So.
Yeah, no, that's right. He didn't actually. I mean, Aikman was saying in the first half that he wasn't, really the Mahomes we've seen. Now, the Mahomes we've seen, has only had less than 3 full years of starts. Like the statistic they put out at the start of the game where the two quarterbacks combined and only started like 60-some NFL games. Like they've never had a Super Bowl where they've had such inexperienced, quarterbacks. But, we talk all the time, like goalies hate it when you say to them in a playoff series, well, it's you against the other goalie, or ask them questions. He goes, I'm not competing against the other goalie. Well, actually you are. Like, I understand why you're saying that, but the quarterbacks say the same thing. I'm not competing against the other quarterback, but yeah, you kind of are because yeah, I mean, you got to be better than him, and that's the yardstick in this game, and it didn't happen. But speaking of goalies, what we saw Saturday night we haven't seen in a while. At least I couldn't remember the most recent one before that, and that is we had two goalies squaring off where. Cam Talbot, it started with him. I'm going to let you sort of detail it a little bit. But then we ended up with, two goalies fighting. But take us through what happened, Tom.
So Mike Smith and Cam Talbot. Yeah. So again, now Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames. And we go back, it was Tkachuk and Kassian that supposedly the big battle is going to be between. And they actually, I think it was the game before that, they actually squared off and went at it. And everybody gave Tkachuk a lot of credit. He's much smaller. Kassian's a tougher guy, but Tkachuk stepped up after he put some big hits on Kassian a game previous to that. So they got their thing taken care of, and everybody thought, okay, that's the end of it. And then Edmonton really ran away with the game against Calgary, right in Calgary too. And it ended up being 8-2 or 8-3. So late in the game, somebody from Edmonton crashed the net, and Talbot got upset, and all of a sudden there's a big scrum. So he's in the middle of the scrum in his zone. And Mike Smith skated to center ice, didn't cross the red line yet, because if he had crossed the red line, he would automatically get a penalty. And he waited there. And Cam Talbot saw him waiting at center ice, and the two of them looked at each other, and they squared off and went at it. And, I think it was I love that old school stuff. When a game is getting carried away, people are trying to make a statement. Hey, we're not backing down from you. We're not going to back down from you. And that's if you watch some of the old highlights of the Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers, or the Islanders Rangers, or Islanders Philly, all those rivalry games, as much as I know they're trying to get a lot of the fighting out of the game, I think those rivalry games are huge, because people now are going to be all excited to wait to see the next game between Calgary and Edmonton. So the two of them went at it in the center ice. I think Mike Smith got the better of them and knocked him down. But again, I know nobody is going to come out from the league and say, well, this is great. But I think privately, I think everybody's like, wow, this is great, right? This is, we want this fire in our game, this passion in our game, especially in Alberta there. So it was fun to watch.
It wasn't an incredible fight, I would say, but,
yeah, it wasn't, we're getting Kevin back. He's got a bad connection there. Kevin's right here what he's trying to say.
Like, how much do you think that equipment weighs, Tom? Like, that they're wearing? Like, it's bulky and.
Yeah, but nowadays the goalie equipment is totally different. It doesn't, it doesn't hold the sweat like the old equipment used to, so it isn't as heavy. But it is still bulky, the chest protector. Right. So it's harder to throw punches. But I just love seeing two goaltenders skate the center ice there, and square up and go at it like that. It was good.
But the bottom line is, Edmonton won again. Like, that's the thing. If I'm the Oilers at the end of that game, and everybody's talking about the fighting, I just skate by a Flame and say, yeah, but we won 6-3. And both those teams need that game.
Yep.
The Flames aren't interesting, and I know you're concerned about the coaching there and why they don't hire Gerard Gallant. But these are two teams, two rivals, two teams that don't dislike each other. The fan bases understand the rivalry as well, and in these two games, the Flames have come up big.
And remember, they basically swapped goaltenders. Talbot was in Edmonton before. Now he's in Calgary. Smith was in Calgary. Now he's in Edmonton. James Neal switched for Milan Lucic. So there's a lot of inside stuff there. And I just, but I'm with you. I think what's happened there in those kind of games when there's two teams that are rivals like that, when it does get to be a blowout, I don't think it has to happen. But I think once some rough stuff starts to happen, both sides are saying, hey, we're not backing down here. The decision on this game, who's going to win or lose, is already over with. So we're preparing for the next game against the two of us. And we want to show them that we're not going to back away from the physical play. You want to play rough, we can do it too. I don't think either side, especially nowadays, is going looking for that. Not like the old days, but so good for both sides. I think it's I like the fact that you got two competitive teams. And early in the year, that was the concern with Calgary in particular. I didn't see that fire in them. So to see them get involved in that, I think, if anything, although they lost the game, I think it helps Calgary pull even closer.
Well, I mean, there were 50 penalty minutes, I think, on that dished out when, and I think Sam Gagner, of all people, kind of started it with a pretty innocent poke. To be honest, like Sam Gagner isn't looking for trouble. He just went in. He was trying to poke at the puck, and Cam Talbot took offense, and next thing you know, we had it all going. But I still think it's ultimate of the ultimate importance for the Oilers to get in from the league perspective and from the franchise perspective. I called Ken Holland out. I think he needs to do whatever he can to get that team in. And there's a lot of talk on the around the league that the Oilers are going to be aggressive. And I saw this morning there was a story about a possible trade, but including Anthony Ciu from the Red Wings, a player that Ken Holland is very familiar with, possibly going to the Edmonton Oilers in a deal that might include Puljujarvi. That's going to be a hard one for Yzerman to pull on. Like, he hasn't played well, him being Anthony Ciu this season. He's been hurt, but he's scored 30 goals already this year.
And Edmonton's right up against the cap too, aren't they? So it's tougher to do that. Yeah,
it is. But I think his salary is only $3 million. Right. You can always sort of make that work. So I think the Oilers are going to be very aggressive. Speaking of trades, I saw an interesting one. I think it was this morning. I saw it last night. Pierre LeBrun reporting that the Islanders are talking with the Senators. I believe it's Peugeot and Ron Hainsey, and of course Lamoriello knows Hainsey from Toronto. That's the kind of deal that I think Lamoriello might make. They're talking Kiefer Bellows, the prospect going back, and Bellows. The projection of him was he was going to be a scorer like his dad, but he's been a little slow in developing, and I don't think that it's necessarily means he won't ever develop, but you have to give up something to get something. And
I like that. The Islanders pulled that trade off. I mean, that's the kind of trade I like, that depth defenseman in Hainsey, who's been around. He's a leader from everything I hear. He plays a really big role in the locker room, adds that character. And that's already, I think, one of the strengths of of the Islanders is that they've got that team game going, right? Barry, your guy, Barry Trotz has them going in the right direction. So I like that trade if that happens.
Well, the other one that's I keep hearing a lot about is Dumba. The Wild are talking about moving Dumba, and the team that's most interested. And to me, this is a little curious.
See, he's doing this on purpose. He's building up the suspense. You did that on purpose, like you're building up the suspense.
Yeah. But the Maple Leafs supposedly are interested in Dumba, and that's an interesting fit for them because they're thinking more in terms of finding a guy that can give me 20 minutes of solid defense. But apparently, what they're thinking about Dumba is, well, why don't we just go for talented players, because Dumba's a very talented player, as we all know.
See, and I think that's the direction that Kyle Dubas, the general manager of Toronto, wants to go. I like his train of thought too. If this is what he's thinking, a lot of people will say, "Well, we need to follow the trend. Like, who's been winning? Washington's a big, hard team to play against. St. Louis a big, hard team to play against." And it appears Kyle Dubas is saying, "Well, no, that's not the way I'm building this team. This team is going to be a fast, speed team that you can't keep up with, and that's how we're going to win." So it makes sense that I had a guy like Dumba, who's more of a skilled guy, move the puck out of our zone. And that's the way they want to play.
Yeah. Well, we still have now. It's almost 3 weeks now until the trade deadline. So I'm surprised we actually haven't seen trades by now. I think the earlier you make those trades, the better. I mean, don't you think? Getting a simulator.
I understand the logic that why GMs want to wait. They figure that's the real pressure point. That's when you get your best deal. But if I'm a team trying to pick up a player, I want to get him in as quick as possible. The guy that I want to get him in there and have him help our hockey team, get him adjusted to our team, have everybody else adjusted to him. Because it does, if you get a real impact player, it does take a little bit of time, because now some player, let's say it's a top six forward, some guy that had been a top six forward, now got to move down in the lineup. You're adding another player. So I agree with you. Let's get it done. But how about the other one, Chris Kreider? What are you hearing on Chris Kreider? Is he getting traded at all, or what?
Well, people say that he's for sure going to get traded. Right. He has said publicly there's been no talks.
Right.
I think you could, if you take any contender other than the Canadian teams, which apparently he doesn't want to go to, right. I think you could see him going there. Right. Even the New York Rangers, even the Pittsburgh Penguins, in the old days, you would never trade, rivals like that would not. But, I think since he's a free agent, he's not likely to re-sign there. Why wouldn't the Rangers consider that?
Pittsburgh played so well yesterday. I watched Pittsburgh and Washington play.
Yeah.
Washington played well too, but it's unbelievable. Like I watched Pittsburgh, and they were even talking about it. Eddie Olczyk and Brian Boucher were talking about it, and they were just how Pittsburgh loses players. They lose Malkin for extended period of time. They lose Crosby for extended period of time. They just keep on rolling. And those kids that have filled in those roles, when you watch them play, like it's, we talk about it so much. I think you got to give credit to so many people there. Rutherford is the general manager, their coach there, Sullivan, and I think the players too. They just bought into this whole team atmosphere, and they play hard. Like they played so hard yesterday. It's a skating, it's a finishing your checks, it's playing with discipline. That was a good game.
Yeah, I basically see the Penguins as my team that nobody's talking about that could win it all. Like I mean, I really believe that. Like, there's something about this team, and they won that game with Matt Murray. Not the guy, not Tristan Jarry, who's played very well for him. So I thought that was big as well. Like, I just loved. I saw that whole game as well, and I thought it was a very, very impressive win. Like the Capitals, in my mind, have been very impressive. Like they're very consistent in how they play. And they don't have any quit in them either. Like, they were 3-1. All of a sudden, you're thinking, well, now they're dead now. They're, Goose is, at reaching 221 Boyle or whatever it is, and they're done. And then all of a sudden, Eller with just a great shot pulls them within a goal.
He played great yesterday. Wow, they're getting a lot out of him. Wow.
And at that point, I thought the Capitals were going to tie. I felt momentum had switched and everything else, but no. The Penguins have been through this so many times, and they can shut it down, and then they get the goal they need to get.
And when I look at the Penguins, it reminds me so much of the Islanders, and the Ranger fans are going to hate me saying this, but the Islanders, when they were winning their 4 cups back in the late 70s and early 80s, the same thing. You look and say, "What? Geez, they just find a way to do it all the time." They find a way to win. They don't necessarily dominate games. They didn't dominate series all the time, but they just found a way to win with that lineup.
Well, the guy gets called up from the AHL and he scores the first goal to put him.
Yeah. When we have these little pauses like this, what we should do is we should try to have everybody that's listening, send in. I think what we're going to do when we have little pauses like that, we're going to have everybody send in, like, who do you remind people of? Like, is it, whatever person, whatever actor, famous actor or something like that?
I don't understand why I keep fading out. There must be some sort of because it's not you, it's me. So I'm not sure. I'm actually right by my my modem and so forth. So I'm not sure why that keeps happening. But anyway,
touch on Kovalchuk. Is there we want to touch on too?
I wanted to talk a little bit about that because you were down on that trade, and the funny thing about it now is they're talking about possibly getting a second round pick out of Kovalchuk because he's playing so well. But here's the kicker, which I want to discuss because you were kind of negative on the impact he might have in the room, and that is they're thinking about not doing it, not trading him because of the positive effect he's had on that room. Like, and it's funny. I had talked to guys and I had witnessed when he was with the Devils later in his career that, he was kind of a lovable guy in the room.
Yeah.
And it seems that's the case. And, he looks like he's got a little left. He's not the Kovalchuk of old.
Right.
There's no.
So what happens in LA though? I mean, why does he sign in LA and it ends up being so bad they just can't wait to get rid of him?
I don't know. Well, there's obviously, I think in LA there's sort of a lack of direction right now. When they're stuck between having some veteran players who are very talented, the Kopitar, Doughty, and then a group that's not there, and they need to rebuild, and it's hard to do it without, the easiest way to do is strip it down to the chassis and start over, but they can't do that. So now they're kind of stuck in the middle. They're on the treadmill, and they're not getting anywhere.
Right.
And I think Kovalchuk, got into that, and wasn't a good environment for him. Yeah. but he's
Yeah. Listen, I don't know the guy. I've never talked to him. Like I think I'm just so everybody realizes when I was doing some TV work for the KHL, the Russian league he was playing. There was a playoff series or playoff season. Oh, had to be like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago now, where the team didn't even dress him. There was no injury or anything like that. Something had gone so wrong with him with that team. They put him up in the press box, and the team was actually was doing pretty well, I believe, too. So that's what I look at, and then I see what happened in LA, and I think, well, this guy must be a bad guy. Or that's harsh to say. I shouldn't say bad guy, but maybe a guy that isn't all bought in on the team side. But we'll see what happens.
Well,
here's one for you. You're going to want to see this one here.
Steve, yeah, Kovalchuk won't last. Well, I'll have to talk with Steve about that later. But where is he not going to last at? I guess he's saying that his return scoring touch is not gonna last. But he's clearly not the player that he was before. But he's got. I think he has 9 points with the Canadiens, and I think he's playing fine. I think he'd be a good fit. With a contender, placed in a top 6 role. Like, why couldn't he play on the top 6 in Pittsburgh?
Right.
Just slide him in there playing with Malkin, see how that goes. Put him on the power play. Maybe there's no room on the power play.
If I had to figure out like a negative, like I look at Nashville at Vegas, for example, and I think to myself, the success they had early, a large part I thought was because it was a bunch of what everybody viewed as kind of cast-offs, right? Nobody wanted these guys. Gerard Gallant got them to play like a team, play that real team game, and they just did far better than anybody thought they could ever do, go to the finals in their first season. Well, now I think part of the problem is that they've added all this new talent to their lineup. And now that kind of like that team game has kind of gone a little bit, and they're saying, "Well, let this guy go do it." He's a big Pacioretty's a big goal scorer. That kind of mentality. I mean, I guess if you look at Pittsburgh, they got a pretty strong locker room. If they added a guy like Kovalchuk in their top 6, I guess they've shown over and over now that they can adapt to anything. So maybe that's that team that you look and say, "Well, he's not going to upset the apple cart there. He's going to add to the team." So I think that's the one team to me, and you mentioned this before, that Pittsburgh is probably that kind of place that would fit good with Kovalchuk. So anybody that's got any thoughts of who Kevin looks like right now as he's frozen again, please send in your comments. I'd like to hear all the comments. We can go back and forth and discuss those. So we got him back here. So we're trying to get people to write in the comments of who you look like, but. All right.
Was I just frozen? Is that the?
Yeah, you're frozen. I think you're doing it on purpose. Seriously, I think.
Yeah, because what happens is you start spinning. For me, I see you and you start spinning.
Oh,
so,
all right.
So I don't know quite what's going on, but I see some other places like with the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Take a chance on Kovalchuk, to get just a few more goals. A lot of it depends on how comfortable the coach thinks the players are with their existing lines. Because you've spoken about this before. Yeah. Like sometimes, I think players see it as, hey, look, they think so much of our team, they're going to give us help. But other times, depending on how well a line's going, they don't want to be disrupted. So
right. Yep.
I think it's complicated. I think you got to read the tea leaves a little bit,
yep.
And think where you're.
Well, I'm not even going to come close to telling you who wrote this, but one of our listeners wrote in that when I asked who you look like, they wrote in Barney Rubble.
Okay.
Now the person too, but I don't feel comfortable in disclosing that name.
Okay. All right. I'll get it from you off the air.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yep. You like Barney? But we could go.
Yeah.
Nickname from now on. We could go with the nickname Barney.
Yeah, Barney. You call me Barney. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now I've lost my train of thought. I want Toronto Maple Leafs. That's where I wanted to go. You didn't like me calling out Dubas last time to do anything because you felt, and you've been consistent about this, that you think that Dubas has a plan and he's going to try to win this way. And if it means that the defense is not good enough, then they're going to try to get 4 goals a game and try to win like that. I'm not so sure that's his master plan, but I do understand what you're saying. Like they don't want to sacrifice their offense. They don't want to put a governor on that charge that they have, moving forward. Well, since we had that conversation, they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And they've actually looked pretty good. But I do hear, we just talked about it, Dumba. They're interested in Dumba, but we didn't bring up at that point is that he fits more into what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like this is how we're going to play. So he isn't Brendan Dillon, for example, which is what I would like to see. Yeah. A guy that can come in and give you that 20 minutes, be hard to play against, and perhaps help stabilize that defense. Right. So it's interesting. I think it's going to be fun to see what they do. I still believe they're going to do something significant. And you think they won't, right?
Well, I guess, do you think Dumba is significant? Do you think that if that moves?
Well, I think that would be really significant. Now, that isn't the way that I thought they would be going, but I thought they would, be looking for just a defenseman. I think they're looking for a guy that can play 20 minutes and give them some safe 20 minutes.
Right.
But, if they do Dumba, that would be a big trade.
But so I think I'm kind of saying I'm thinking significant. I don't think it's going to be something significant, but I guess if you're right and it is something significant, if I'm going to go along with what I believe that they're going to want to do with this lineup, it's going to be that skill guy like a Dumba, not the grind it out kind of guy. It'd be interesting too, right? I kind of like that mentality, right? Because it's so easy to just follow the trends that are going on in the NHL. Like I said, Washington's big and hard to play against. St. Louis is big and hard to play against. Boston's hard to play against. And Dubas, the general manager of Toronto, that's a confident man, right? To say, listen, no, I'm not going to go along with the trend here. I think we can win a different way. This is the kind of team I want to build. I want that fast team that's just going to go. Thinking back early in the year too, I think it was I can't remember if it was Marner or Austin Matthews got hit really hard by somebody too, right? Center ice. In Toronto, and nobody responded, and they took a lot of heat for that they didn't respond. But you know what? To Dubas's credit, he didn't go out and make some changes. Say, okay, well, I need to change our lineup now get some tough guys in there to now respond when somebody goes after one of our skilled players. That's why I kind of believe he's saying, no, this is the lineup we have. We're going to play this way. If anything, get our power play going better. So if one of our guys does get run over and they take a penalty against us, well, now we score on a power play, and that'll stop the rough stuff. So there's Barney Rubble, guys, in case you didn't know it. This is my new podcast partner, Barney Rubble, right there. Now, the same guy.
Barney came back. Yeah.
The same guy that called you Barney Rubble is now calling me Joe Rockhead.
Yeah, I actually see the same conversation. So I know.
Oh, you do see it. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they come up on my side as well.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go, Tom, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this. As I was watching the Super Bowl, I started to wonder, football is not hockey, but you start to see this big staged event that they have, and neutral site. And I thought, is there any way we could sort of do that? Just decide, okay, we're going to play our Stanley Cup final in wherever, New York or wherever, and just think. And then I thought, it just doesn't work. Like what part of the what makes hockey, and the same thing is true of the NBA, is the home crowd atmosphere. Yeah. Like, don't we all love turning on our TVs and checking in, and just everybody's waving the towels, and it's so loud in the building? I think you'd lose that.
Well, Troy Aikman talked about that early in the game, how that's one of the adjustments they had to make as a quarterback. That like if you're in your home building, the building would go quiet for you when you're on offense, and then it's noisy the other way around. But in the Super Bowl game, it's just bland. Right. And there's no advantage one way or the other. So I agree with you. I think the Super Bowl was fantastic, the atmosphere, but I think you're right, totally. I think back to some of the times, like when they, like up in Canada, when they all sing it's not just Canada, but they all sing the national anthem, everybody in the building, and the flags are waving and everything. Like those are pretty, like the goosebumps get going thinking about that kind of stuff. So I love the playoffs for the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I mean, like the building creates part of the energy of our championship series, where, the Super Bowl, the energy is created by the tradition of the game.
Yeah.
Like we don't, because I wonder at a Super Bowl, what percentage of people actually at the game are fans of either team. I would be curious to know that.
So Barry Shelley, one of our constant listeners here, he's commenting on my but from Tom Post yesterday, he had a bigger spread in the things he baked while in the kitchen leading up to the game. Bigger spread.
You had a lot of you talked about making a lot of things here. How many people did you have? That's the other thing. It seemed like you were feeding a large delegation yesterday.
Are you saying like exaggerated things? Is that what you're trying to say? My family came over by.
I don't know. How many people were there?
It was actually ended up only being 3 of us all together. My son came over with their oldest son came over with his wife. I thought my youngest son was coming over with his girlfriend, but I forgot he was down in Florida. So I might have got a little bit excited in the kitchen, which sometimes happen. Once I start baking, and I usually get like the motivational music going and everything too in the background when I'm cooking. So like I get a little bit fired up when I start getting going in the kitchen. So.
All right, well, we've run out of time here, but this has been the Laidlaw and Allen Report. I'm Alan. He's Laidlaw. We'll be back later in the week.
See you guys.